welcome to another exciting show of G Sport Live. I am your host, Babsie, and tonight's theme is all about women in media. Tonight in the studio, I am joined by the primetime queen, a former finalist of the 2021 Momentum G Sport Awards, Tumi Kgasoe. Thank you for joining me tonight. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely great. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you in our studio. You know, with having the woman in media, when we had our very first G Sport breakfast, what did you think and how do you think the woman in media and the media in general can contribute in the advancement of women's sport?
I think it was absolutely mind blowing. I think, firstly, I did not expect it to be like that because they basically broke it down for us that, sometimes we put it out there that, listen, women in sports or women athletes need sponsorships, but we don't know how to actually get there. They broke it down that, listen, if you as the media are not doing your part in terms of giving these athletes and women in sports generally the platform for people to know about them, then you're not going to get the sponsorships or whatever that you want to attract from them. So I think from that breakfast, I learned a lot in terms of me being the solution for all the problems that we always report about. Because obviously, me as a journalist or as a broadcaster, I'll go out there and report on whatever issues that are happening in sports. But at the end of the day, what am I doing to make life better or to actually get people to know a bit more about these women athletes?
I love what you say about that, especially with that sponsorships part. You know, when at the point when the head of marketing of Momentum, Charlotte, mentioned that being honestly speaking, brands are looking at numbers, and the only way these athletes can get the numbers is if the media is talking about it and people get more interested and they want to follow their lives.
I mean, we need to understand the role that media plays in the fact that it changes perceptions. There's also those stereotypes. We want to break those barriers.
Yeah.
And we're able to influence a lot of people in terms of the way that they're thinking. And that's what I love about G Sports, the fact that very intentional about telling those good stories about women in sports. You're not only telling those stories about women in sports, but you also telling the good side of things and just saying, listen, there are women in sports that are doing exceptionally well. You don't
Yeah.
know them, but here they are, and we're just giving you an opportunity to know them a bit better.
Yeah, and talking about women in sport who are doing exceptionally well that we do not know about, Celine Abrahams, our content lead, had the chance to speak to Radio 2000 host and former Women in Media winner Rachel Makura, just talking about G Sport 17 and what it does for us. Let's take a listen to that.
Listen, once a year, around August, is always a party. It's always a party, something to always look forward to. I'm really excited for this year's award, Celine. But tell me something for someone, because there's someone out there. Someone out there who's listening, who doesn't know much about the G Sports Awards or who's hearing about the G Sports Awards for the very first time on Radio 2000 this evening. Tell them more about the awards, what are they about, and why they're so important in,
So the Momentum G Sport Awards, it's a very glitzy affair, and a lot of women who come together just to celebrate and honor each other. And this year, we are looking to unearth new icons and new role models. We know we've been seeing young stars rising, and we're learning about more and more women in the sports space. So it's very important that we start recognizing our women in sports. We've seen, Rachel, so many times over the past 16 years, how women who have won on the Momentum G Sport Awards have gone on to, level up in their careers. So it just shows when you acknowledge women and, just anyone, I think, in sport, in anything in their career, if you acknowledge someone, it gives you a certain sort of confidence to know that your work is being recognized, and it makes you want to do more. I think if you are someone who's won in the Momentum G Sport Awards stage, you know how that has impacted your career. It's a positive impact, and that's what the Momentum G Sport Awards is about. To impact, to have a positive impact on you and your career and take you to the next level.
I love that. Absolutely. It's all about celebrating not just athletes, but administrators, coaches, and obviously, like you said, women in media like myself, who's won a G Sport Award before. So the nomination process is underway. closing date is the 9th of August, Women's Day next week, Tuesday.
And on that note, let's cross on over to Celine Abrahams, who's going to be telling us more about what has been happening in the newsroom and where you can get all these stories on how you can nominate your favorite for the G Sport Awards of 2022 across 20 categories.
Hello everyone, G-Sport content lead Celine Abrams here. What an exciting time it has been for our South African women in sport who are smashing records and breaking barriers across the globe. The G-Sport newsroom team has literally been on their toes because their stories have been coming in after every hour, and we have made sure to shine the spotlight on our rising stars on gsport.co.za. With these inspiring stories that we have featured on the gsport.co.za website, I would just like to take this time to encourage all of you who are watching our show tonight to head on over to our website to check out these stories and to also submit your nominations for the 2022 Momentum G Sport Awards as we look to unearth new icons and new role models on this year's award stage.
I think the coolest thing about G Sport is the newsroom. And every time we write these stories, we always come up with the leading weekend news. It's always so difficult to, pick who will be the top three. Let's just check out the video of who was the top three of this week's leading weekend news. How great have our swimmers been performing?
Oh man, it's absolutely great. Like, I feel like just seeing Tatiana doing well last year kind of like gave them hope, especially the young ones and the ones that are looking up to her, that I can also do it. And I think it should be like that in this industry, that listen, even though you see our fellow sisters in the industry doing well, you should also be able to say, listen, as much as I'm going to the top, let me take a few people with me so that they can also believe in it. And I think that's why they're doing so well. As much as Tatiana did well and she continues to do well, I'm sure she's also thinking, I hope I'm inspiring someone out there.
She definitely has. Look at Lara van Niekerk. And we don't have to go on about a Penny Haynes and a Natalie du Toit anymore. There's now a history of Penny Haynes, Natalie du Toit. They paved the way. Now there's a next generation of great swimmers where they're coming one after the other.
Yeah.
Now, seeing that swimming has done so well, let's first talk about Piwokuhle Nguni, the first ever South African woman boxer to walk away with a medal.
I mean, that is history. Absolutely great. Funny enough, today I was talking to a boxing promoter who's a woman, and she was just talking about how, some of the challenges, it kind of like clouds them in terms of wanting to do what they want to do. But the fact that they have an inner believe in themselves, despite the challenges that they have, they tell themselves that, listen, I'm going to do this no matter what. And look at the results that we have over here.
Exactly. So right now we've got a future Piwokuhle looking there and saying that actually I can also be a boxer. I can be an Olympian. And also on your show, when you were speaking to Joyce Kungwayo, someone can also say that I can be a boxing promoter.
Yeah.
I can look out for that talent, and it just paves the way. And like we've seen with how Tatiana worked her way in at the Olympics last year, and we saw Lara going, I can even do it.
Right? And I think that's the reason why we as broadcasters are there, so that we can tell these stories, so that people out there or other athletes can say, hey man, I can actually do what she's doing. Look at how successful they are.
and telling their stories. Michaela, white boy, walking away with that goal for judo. These are sports that people will associate and say that they're male dominated. I think as the media, just playing that role of taking away the gender role of that sport and just saying it's a sport to be played.
As I did say earlier on, it's all about breaking those barriers of the stereotypes that this is only a male sport, or just to say that we won't be able to do it as women. But us as the media coming in to tell stories like this and just showing that, wow, this young person is able to achieve this, it's big.
What do you think of Ashley Buhai being one of the only third South African
Sure.
to win a major golf tournament?
That's great. I think that's absolutely great, because we always hear about how men are doing well in this golf, and her just going that far and reaching that pinnacle of pinnacles. Like literally, she's at the top right now. And I think it's also a good story to tell in terms of a message out there to other women that are in golf, that you can do it as long as you're persistent at what you do. You can literally reach whatever that you want to reach.
And I think the only way that people can know about these athletes' persistence is constantly documenting their journey. Looking at Michaela Whiteboy, how she has gone through her journey. Lara van Niekerk, how she has gone through the journey.
Yeah.
Tatiana, sharing all of these stories and not just sharing them when they win. And then it becomes a now what?
It's very important to also say and mention where they come from, because they didn't just come out of nowhere and become a big Tatiana or Lara. They come from somewhere, and they had to go through their own challenges and overcome their own challenges to come to where they are. They are where they are right now because of that consistent spirit, that spirit of just telling yourself that, listen, I'm going to win no matter what.
I love it. And on that note, this is how we enter our big interview with 2021 Woman in Television finalist and primetime queen. Yes, I'm calling her the primetime queen, Tumi Kgasoe. So, I love how you spoke about how these athletes didn't just come out of nowhere. You didn't just come out of nowhere. You didn't just become this primetime broadcaster on News Africa.
Yeah.
Many people do not know about your journey and the obstacles that you had to face.
Oh man, yes. Just thinking about it, it's been a really long journey. I mean, I started on campus radio because I wanted to be, I just actually wanted to be on radio. I used to play hockey, and then unfortunately I had to stop because of my studies. And then I was like, actually, since I love radio, I love sports, I actually maybe should go into sports broadcasting. And that's where I started on campus radio. I was there for a good 5.5 years, not getting paid, just by the way. And usually when people come to me and ask for advice and ask me, where do I start? I usually say, if you can get campus radio or community radio station, to start there. Why? Because you can literally get trained on the job and you're not going to get fired for it. But then afterwards, I moved on to YFM, and I was there for almost 5 years, moving on to the likes of freelancing for Power FM, Vision View Sports Radio, until I got to a point where now I was approached to come and join Newsroom Africa, because they were like, listen, we've heard you on radio, but we'd actually love to see how you do it on TV. And since then, it's literally been like gold.
I love it. And I love how your journey has just gone through it. And, you're willing to put in the work. And people always just downplay being on campus radio or being on community radio. They don't know the importance of going through that and in getting into media and gaining all that experience, because it's not easy
It's
being
not
on
easy.
live TV, prime time even.
It's not easy. I didn't start off being on prime time. Obviously, they have to see that you're able to handle it. But I feel like those years when I was on campus radio or just building myself as a woman in sports broadcaster, it helped me get to a point where now I'm able to believe in myself. I think there was a point in my journey where I actually didn't really think I was capable of it, because first of all, as a woman in the industry, they don't believe you. We were talking about it earlier on, where you're saying a fact and then they're like, let me just check if she's actually, telling the truth or she knows what she's talking about. I had to literally go through that. Sometimes I'd get ridiculed for some of the things that I'm saying on air, and they're just like, she probably does not know what she's talking about. But I think for myself, as I did say earlier on, I had people along the way that also believed in me. That got me to actually start believing in myself. And that's one person I can speak of, is actually Kaz, because she would be like, I see something in you and I feel like you can do better than what you're doing right now. So sometimes having those mentors or having those sisters or people that you can look up to in the industry that actually care about you and would want to see you grow helps you to get to where you're at, which is what I told myself, that as I am going higher and higher, I want to take some people with me, because I want us to succeed together.
Being intentional, the pie is big enough for all of us. And but barring the fact that, being a woman in sport, there are people that will always just ridicule you, like you said, or cross check what you're saying just to make sure that it's an actual fact. What other challenges do you think that we face as women in media, and telling the stories of women athletes and trying to champion them more and making sure that they are out there?
I think, sometimes you tend to say, listen, I'm going to be intentional about this. I'm going to say, or tell these stories about women in sports. And then perhaps wherever you're working, you don't get enough airtime to actually talk to those that you want to showcase or put on the platform to talk about their stories. Obviously, it's much more easier, or it comes quicker to say, let me talk to this male athlete, and then they'll say, we'll give you 15 minutes.
Oh, yes.
And then now you have a woman in sports athlete and they're like, okay, you can talk to her for 5 minutes. You always have to motivate why you'd want to do that interview. And I think as you build your profile slowly but surely, like as you did say, you need to be intentional with every single thing that you do, which is what I do, that I make it worthwhile, that when I sit and talk to you about your story and what you do, I make sure that I ask the right questions so that in those 5 minutes, you leave people saying, I'd actually like to hear a bit more about her story and what she's doing in the industry. So it's all about having that intention that I want to tell the story and I'm going to tell it, no matter if they're giving me 5 or 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I know that people are going to know about this person and their achievements in the time that I'm given.
So the aim is to always make sure that you turn that challenge into an opportunity, because
Absolutely.
that's what I'm getting from this conversation and what you are telling me. Because essentially I was going to ask you, how can we combat these challenges? But I love how you have actually just said that it's not a challenge. Turn it into an opportunity to build a bigger stage.
There's actually a quote I live by that says, when the stage is finally mine, I'll make sure that I shine. So it doesn't matter whether they decide, no, they're not going to give you a lot of time to talk about whatever you got talk about. But when you actually have that opportunity, make sure that you use it to the best of your ability, because sometimes you might not get that opportunity again. But the moment you actually capture their attention, the way we always try to capture people's attention with the stories that, I feel like right now with Banyana, they've
Yes.
literally captured our attention. Like they've literally said, guys, we've been telling you guys that we have what it takes to do what it is in terms of women's football, but now everyone is literally talking about them.
So everyone is talking about them, which is great. but it seems like it's starting to die down. How can we further encourage them to talk more about the Sasso League, the Hollywood Beds League? Because I feel like this is the opportunity where we have other big teams such as Kaiser Chiefs, Pirates. Sundowns Women is doing great. I mean, they made sure that they collected most of the awards at this year's Hollywood Beds Awards. So, how do you think we can take this wave as the media to ride on it and to talk more about women in sport, women football, and how to better support it and get more broadcast time?
I mean, you keep on talking about it. You continue on profiling these women that are doing well. I think the fact that we saw the Mamelodi Sundowns ladies doing well, there are other people that thought, oh man, perhaps I should also start or have a women's team. I mean, the conversation has been going on. We hear Jessica Mutaung saying, listen, Kaiser Chiefs ladies is actually going to be launched soon. We see Royal AM launching their female team. And I mean, my thing was when Royal AM launched their female team, I was like, we're seeing big clubs like Orlando Pirates and Kaiser Chiefs that said perhaps we need to wait a bit before we launch our female team. There's something that must have gotten Sean Mkhize to say, listen, I want my female team now. There's something that happened or that she saw on perhaps whatever in the media,
Yeah.
what we were talking about, that she was like, no, let me accelerate it and actually have this thing happening right now. So what we say in the media, how we put it out there, one way or the other, influences the public in terms of the narrative that we're putting and what we want to put out there and how we want them to receive the news.
And how intentionally you want to be. Word of the day, guys, intentional. Be intentional with what you do.
Yeah.
And I think Ashon Mkhize might have just listened to a Brandy where Brandy did tell us, guys, almost does not count. You need to do it now. Take action now and moving forward. So how do you think in the advancement of women in media and in that space where we can be able to start seeing more female-led sports talk shows, how do you think we can go about that?
As I did say earlier on, we need to start being the solution to some of the problems that we're seeing out there. I think when the likes of Cass decided to start the G-Sport initiative or this full project or this whole movement that is going on, she was like, no, we're not seeing a platform that is dedicated to women in sport. Why don't I actually just start it? We don't have a full-on woman in sports show on TV. Okay, are we going to leave it like that? Or is Tumi going to come up with an idea to actually say, no, man, let me propose this thing. If they're not going to give me the chance to put it out there, maybe I need to make airtime for myself and start a podcast where we're actually talking to women in sport.
And that's the power of media and the power of social media.
Yeah.
Right now, you can create a podcast from the comfort of your own home, the comfort of your own car.
Exactly.
And you can even just profile these videos, even doing being a vlogger. And instead of vlogging about the different lifestyles, you're vlogging about the different sporting lifestyles, the different sporting codes where the ladies are coming off the bus. And because you're already in media, you're just showing all that behind the scenes, creating that excitement.
There's so many ways to do it. You don't need to literally go the traditional way of being on Supersport or SABC. You literally can do it anywhere at any time as long as you know what your intention is and what you want to bring across. Then you got it.
Oh, I am so happy about that because I enjoy speaking to people who are passionate about what they're doing and how intentional that they are. How do you think we can better support each other as women in this space?
I think first and foremost is canceling out the whole element of competition. We're not trying to compete with each other, guys. Like, just because I'm in this space, it doesn't mean I'm going to hog the space alone. There's literally enough space for all of us. Why? Because we've got different offerings. I might have a strength in, I don't know, broadcasting and being on TV and speaking, and you might have a strength in writing. But me being there, and if I see someone else, and I always tell myself that, to me, if you can see that your fellow sister is struggling to get to a place, like right now I'm at Newsroom Africa, I know I'm there for a reason, and I know that I'm not there for myself. I'm there to open the way for others so that they can also be there and say, listen, we made it together, and we're here together, and we're owning the space together. I think if we get to that point mentally to say, listen, I'm not doing this for myself, I'm actually out there to inspire others to also say, listen, if Dumi, a person that, or a lady that is just from Orchards, someone that does not even study journalism, is actually doing it, I'm sure I'll be able to do the exact same thing. So we need to just get to a point where we want to see each other succeeding together. When you move, try to move with 2 or 3 other people, so that when we get to the top, we're able to tell other people that, guys, we are here. Who else wants to get here? Let us pull you up with us.
And showing the next generation of women that, and young girls, like looking at my daughter as well, who I forgot to call to tell her to watch, and my poor child.
Sis on you.
You know, and just making them know that it is possible, and there is a piece of the pie for all of us. There is a sisterhood. We are not in competition with anyone. We are there to see each other win. Final question: are we going to get an exclusive to this new project that you're working on?
Listen, something is coming up. Something is coming up. Obviously, we'll be looking at women in sport. I don't want to say a lot, but I'm saying that people should look out there. I think that G Sport business meeting, when I was there and I was just listening to every single thing that they were saying, I was like, oh my word, they're actually talking to me directly to say, how are you being the solution to some of the issues that we hear? We're tired of always talking about the challenges that we're facing in women in sport, but what are you bringing to the table? What are you trying to do to help other people that are also trying to be the solution, in terms of making sure that we are giving women in sports the platform to talk about their achievements, and also kind of like helping them to tap in those being out there, so that brands can see them and start sponsoring them, and also perhaps even getting those TV rights, so that we can have more time to see our women in sports doing well.
And having actual sporting careers where it does not have to be, I need to freelance here, there, 9 to 5, 9. Oh, it is always such a pleasure speaking to you.
You know, just before I let it go, or I let us go, is that I think the moment I get to, or we get to a point where those that are coming behind us don't have to face the same challenges that we are facing right now, then I'd say
we've won.
We've literally gotten what we want.
And we've created a new generation where no one will be struggling. What an insightful interview. And that is how we wrap up just the big interview. Throwing forward to this week, as I mentioned, this episode was all about the media issue. So on Wednesday, our favorite day of the week in the G Sport newsroom is where we publish our newsletter. If you haven't signed up, where have you been? Go ahead to the G Sport website, gsport.co.za. Sign up for our newsletter, where you get the latest and greatest sporting news on women, and profiles, extensive profiles on these women who are doing great things and finding ways to combat the gap in women's sport. And then on Thursday, of course, we've got our Twitter space. Let's take a recap on last week's Twitter space, and here's a clip.
And Nancy, I'm going to go to you with regarding to this. You know, Banyana, they just made us so proud. And you've been, I guess, on the receiving end of coming home and seeing everyone, you know, I guess, fangirl about you, like myself, you know, just fangirling about you and being part of that celebration, and being on the other side, being able to give that, you know, recognition to Banyana players that we've known, especially have been fighting for so long. And just tell us about that moment and blowing out candles with, I guess, the African champions. Natalie, how was that?
So I think first and foremost, I mean, winning an award at the G Sport Awards and then being inducted, I think is definitely different for me, because usually you win an award and you don't really come back. So I think for me, it's really, really awesome that we kind of get to be part of it going forward, and I think that's a first for me. But being at the celebration, having Banyana walk in, the team really made something special. Of the team arriving, and Coach Desiree Ellis spoke on stage as well. So I think, from that perspective, it was raw emotion. It was a story of triumph at those particular at the games, and I think that is an inspiration for absolutely all the women out there. It's tough. I think for a lot of sports, a lot of women in sport as well. So to see them come home, to see them, stand up and hold a trophy. Those are goals, those are dreams that every team has worked towards. And it's just great to see that, that is going to go further as well. So I just want to say well done to G Sport and to Kaz and her team as well. It's phenomenal. And, as a woman that has been in sport, it's also phenomenal to still stay a little bit a part of it.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask. From winning your award and then getting inducted into the G Sport Hall of Fame, how have you seen, I guess, women's sport grow in South Africa, and I guess globally as well, because you've got to put in there as well. But how has it grown since you've received that award and seen it play out over the last, I guess, 16 years from that perspective?
Sure, I think as a woman in a sport where it's on time and you qualify on time, also being disabled, I think I have a few differences to me, but I think it has definitely grown. Growing up, I had a manager who brought on a number of sponsors on board, and with that we were able to pay for tours. At one stage we were paying over R1 million, just paying for club fees, coach fees, province fees.
Wow.
Traveling, gaining that experience in order to swim at the highest level possible. And for me, I raced able-bodied, disabled, and I raced open water. So I ran 3 calendars in one. And I think, if I look back at the athletes, Banyana coming back, yes, they will receive a little bit of money. We see the Commonwealth Games. We see the women standing up there and winning golds, winning silvers. They're still very young. And I'd love to see, and I'm sure many, many people out there would love to see a lot more money within sport. Sport has the power to change the world, and it really has made the biggest difference in the last few weeks. Seeing, all the achievements that have come in from the Commonwealth Games, from the rugby's winning against Japan, the women. It's just been phenomenal how South Africa's name is just out there. And I think from that perspective, there's a lot more to be done, and something has been done since I was a swimmer. But yeah, I think swimming, and Kaz rightfully said when we celebrated the 16th birthday, was, sport is a job. It is something that athletes can be proud of. And we couldn't see that as athletes, but hopefully in the near future, it will be seen in that manner.
I love how Natalie said it is so phenomenal how South Africa is being noticed, and that's because we have phenomenal women. And those phenomenal women will be celebrated tomorrow, as it is Women's Day. And it is also the final day to nominate your favorite across our 20 categories for the 2022 Momentum G Sport Awards. Tumi, encourage that last and final push as to why people need to nominate for these awards.
It's very important that you go out and nominate your faves, because first of all, you're showing appreciation for the work that they're doing. It's also a form of support and also encouraging them to continue doing what they're doing and reaching those high heights. So make sure that you head out there to the G Sport website and nominate your favorite broadcaster, athlete of the year,
Administrator of the year.
The nice thing about these awards is that we literally cover all fields. So it's not only one that you can nominate. So go out there, make sure that you nominate. Tomorrow is the last day. I'm actually excited to see who's going to make the nominations.
I am so exciting. I think that's where the excitement will even build up even more. And that is how we wrap up today's show. Happy Women's Day to all the women out there. Always remember, you are great. You are the star in the room. You are the light. Glow from within. Don't forget, you have the power to do any and everything that you can do. And go out there and shine. Don't forget to follow all the G Sport platforms. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We are at G Sport for Girls, and we are always sharing the latest and greatest and celebrating women in sport. That's how I'm signing out as your host, Babsie.